Hello everybody, welcome to another update on the stock screener. Today we're going to talk a bit about potash and more specifically about the cost of potash. So when we look at the potash price, and this is actually the fertilizer price index in the USA, but it is correlated to potash. And you can see here that we are hitting new all-time highs. So this price is much higher than the peak here in 2008. You could say that potash is now too expensive for the farmer, and the farmer would not want to use potash anymore because it's too expensive. So the demand will go down, and potash prices will go back to this level. But that's you can't just guess this. You need to calculate this. So is potash expensive or cheap around this price? How do we calculate this? Well, there is a thing like cost of potash. Okay, so let's start with the beginning, the basics. Let's say we have corn in the United States and we look at 1 acre. So on that acre we have bushels. So this is a bushel of corn. It's basically just a bucket with corn in it, and it's 56 pounds. And you can see here that the amount of bushels has been rising over time. So the US is doing very well. They can produce more bushels per acre. And that's because they use more techniques, more fertilizers, etc. Now, when you apply potash on the field, it will increase the yield about 10%. So for example, if we have 150 bushels per acre on a field, then it will go up by 15 bushels to the 170 here. Okay, so keep that number in mind. It's about 15 bushels per acre. So on this chart, you can see this dotted line, and it's about 11, and that's the yield gain from potash. So that's the 15 I was talking about. So when you apply potash on 1 acre, you will get a yield gain. You will have more bushels per acre, about 11 more bushels per acre. And this is for corn. The same here for phosphates. You also get a certain amount of yield gain from using phosphates. Okay, so that's the extra revenue that a farmer can get, this 11 bushels. Now, let's look at the cost side. The cost side is this curve, this yellow curve here. And that's the amount of bushels per acre of corn that the farmer needs to pay to actually get the potash product and apply it to the field. So that's the cost of potash. Okay, so apparently the cost of potash was 8 bushels per acre in 2008. And you can see that this cost has come back down, and now it's around almost the average, the historic average. And this is very logical because when you look at the fertilizer prices, it follows the same pattern. So it went up, down, and then here it spiked. But look at this. Why is it going down here? Because this has kept on going up. So the fertilizer prices, the potash prices kept going up. But here it started to go down And this is from May 2022. So it's very recent. So why is this going down? Well, there is one reason for that. And you can actually look at these peaks here. Why is this peak lower while this peak is higher? Well, you need to look at the food prices. That's the clue here. When you look at the fertilizer prices, okay, it's higher than this peak. But when you look at the food prices, the peak is now much higher than here. So the farmers are actually making lots of money because the food prices are almost more than 50% higher than this peak, while the fertilizer prices are almost the same. And that explains why we are seeing this dip, because this potash cost curve is based on bushels of corn. So if the food price rises, then you will need less bushels of corn, of course, to buy 1 acre of potash application. So here we saw the food prices go up, corn prices go up. So it means you need less of a bushel of corn to buy potash because the price of food has gone up. Maybe very complex to understand this, but as long as this cost of potash stays around this level here, farmers are going to make a lot of money because this is the margin that they get. This here is the margin. So they get a yield increase of 11, and it only costs 4 bushels to apply the potash. So they actually win around 7 bushels by using potash. So that's a 7 bushels yield gain. When we look at phosphates, it's not that good. Okay, you can see here there's not a lot of margin here, and in 2008 it actually shot above this limit. So that means that farmers would lose money when they use phosphates. Okay, so phosphates don't look that great in my opinion, while potash is currently still very profitable because of this large margin. Do you understand this? So that's why I think that the demand for potash is always going to stay strong. And that's because this margin is still very high historically. So we won't see the potash prices come back down. That's what I think. So everyone who says that this will come back down, I think they are wrong. They cannot go back to this level because then this potash cost would go like this, go to here. And the farmers would have a lot of margins. So I think this trend is going to stay at this level, at least. And it depends, of course, on the food price index. If the food prices keep on rising, then this chart will keep on going down. And then the fertilizer prices will probably keep on rising until we get back to this historic average, right? So it all depends on the food prices. So as long as food prices rise, then the potash price will rise. That's how I see it. So I don't expect this to be the peak. Actually, this peak here is cheaper than this peak. So the cost of this potash is cheaper than the cost of this potash. And you can see that here. This is lower than this peak. Okay. Now, what does this have to do with Verde? Verde's biorevolution has the ability, that's their new product, that has the ability to cut fertilizer use in half. And you can read their patent. So they use half the amount of fertilizer to get the same yield on the field. So that means, and this is the curve that I draw here, that I drew here, and you can see that it is cut in half. Okay, that's because they only need to apply half the amount of potash on the field. So that's why I just cut it in half. Now, if the cost of potash rises to, for example, this upper limit, then Verde would still have only half the cost of potash, right? So everyone will go from Mosaic, Nutrien, Intrepid Potash, and they would go to Verde's Biorevolution product because it would be much cheaper to buy this product because it's half as cheap, right? So this gives Verde a big advantage to its competitors. And we still need to, of course, see the field tests if this is true. But from the patent and the trials in the laboratories, I think there's a high chance that this is going to be working and that we will see the cost of potash be cut in half for Verde's biorevolution. So this is a big advantage. So in conclusion, I think the potash costs is at the historic average. You can see that from the chart. And that means that potash prices will stay high. We are not overvalued in the potash price. And we could also see that farmers' margins are profitable. So they will keep on buying potash. Because if you don't buy potash, then you will not get that yield margin increase. So they will keep on buying, potash demand will stay high. So this concludes this video. Use this cost of potash curve to calculate whether potash is expensive or cheap. And that will give you an idea of where the prices are headed. Okay? A very interesting tool. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.